What is up, bro coverage? I am your host, Nick. Today we are talking about the press conference from post-game, essentially, of the Cowboys. There is actually a press conference that just came out as well. I'm actually recording this the following day on the 20th, at about 1 o'clock my time for hopping a plane. So, yeah, we're going to deal with that. Yeah, I'm just going to get right into it. I'm going to give him this chance. A lot of people hated that he did this press conference, and obviously a lot of people hated the next one, where I'm going to address something a little bit more poignant and a little bit more scummy. That's a preview if you already know what I'm talking about, but let's just jump over to it.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Again, this is Frank Reich's press conference. This is from the 19th. I did make sure the date is correct this time. But yeah, let's just see what he has to say. I want to be open as possible. This was, everyone thought, including myself, that I just thought this was just going to be it. They were just going to part ways, but it is, as of right now, he has not been fired on the 20th. So obviously giving away a little bit here, but yeah, he hasn't been fired yet as of right now. A lot of people upset at that. I'm not as upset about that. I understand the situation. I'm not a crazy fan that expects that to just immediately turn around. But again, he's also made a lot of missteps by taking away play calling and a few other things. So let's just give him his chance. You're the head coach. You deserve the respect of being the head coach. And I'm going to give that to you 100% of the time, regardless of if it's you, Frank Reich, or if it's somebody else. The head coach of whatever team I support, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt 100 out of 100 times. The minute they get you out of there, I'll give you all the criticism possible. But until then, I believe in you, and I'm trying.
Okay, just open up with the injury report. Boodle had the knee, so we'll have to get him evaluated and go from there. All right, difficult loss. Give the Cowboys credit. They played well. They're a good football team. I do think that that's being lost on a lot of people, that, oh, we lost. Offense wasn't, Offense wasn't too potent. But again, it's versus one of the best defenses in the league, regardless of how you may feel about the Cowboys. Parsons, Diggs, if he was there, all that stuff. Leighton Vander Esch, if he was there, like this defense could have been so much worse, and Bryce could have been lucky to throw 100 yards. So, yeah, I'm giving it the context it deserves. The Cowboys are supposed to be contenders. With that in mind, I'm giving the Panthers a little bit of leeway. You lost to a possible Super Bowl contender. Okay, we didn't get as much pressure as we would like. Micah Parsons, I think, got 2.5 sacks and 6 tackles in this game. So there was just a lot of overall problems, number one of which being the offensive line, which I hope is something that he really addresses in here. For 3 quarters, we hung in there. In the third quarter, we went down and had that long drive and scored and got it to a 1-score game. And, felt like in spite of the fact that we had, a few mistakes along the road, the game was well within grasp there when we got it to 17-10. And that's the thing. The offense looked like it was struggling, but we also have, at one point, I believe I tweeted out, Bingo had 6 targets and 1 catch, and I'm pretty sure he finished with that. And that was at halftime or something. So if you look at the target share, it's Adam Thielen or bust. Nobody else really showed up. DJ Chark didn't even get a single catch. I don't even think he got a target the entire game. I might be wrong with that, but I know he didn't have any catches for any yards. So it's just overall. I understand he took the play calling back, but he at least we were close for a while, and then it just fell apart at the end. And again, it fell apart with a contending defense. I'm giving him some slack, just like I would give anybody. They deserve it. It's the Cowboys. Like if we lost to the 49ers, I'm not going to be mad because you lost to the 49ers. Most teams will lose to the 49ers. So we weren't able to hang in from there, and then it got out of control, obviously, with the turnovers. So I'll open it up from there.
Frank, at what point do you guys feel like it's not about hanging in there, but it's about putting up points? Because obviously, you did get a different flow of plays, but
one thing that I want to point out in these, if you've watched any of my breakdowns previously, please go check them out. Watch my first one with Frank Reich. I did another one with him. I've actually done a few with him. And then I did the one with Evero and Thomas Brown as well. The body language of Evero was very stand there and kind of like this. Thomas Brown was the same way, even though you can kind of see in his facial features that he was kind of pissed off. Obviously, he had play calling taken away from him. Completely understandable. I think that's part of this. You're looking at his body language, and a lot of people are not believing in the body language. They think that the team wants Reich to fail. And personally, if that's the case, then those players need to be cut. I don't believe that that's the way to go about these things. If your team is intentionally throwing the game, that is not it's something that any team wants or would want to be a part of. So obviously, I'm just hoping that it's just, hey, man, the team is just not gelling. It's personnel, the same thing that I've echoed for literally months. When people said, you don't know ball, you don't know this, you don't know Chark, blah, 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 which just in case you guys have missed out, my audio, I had the same issue. 2 growls, 1 roar had with his where it just didn't record right. So the DJ Chark and Mingo and LaVisca video will be out. But overall, I don't know, man. I'm just reading the body language. It looks weird. The offense is obviously struggling, but the offense is struggling because of the offensive line. There's so many of those plays where Bryce is handing it off, and there's literally 3 dudes already in the backfield. C3 Cody will probably shout it out during the All-22 that he does, and you're going to see just how quickly that line gets overwhelmed. I don't agree with people. I will go into it and eventually clip it from the last Spaces that Pickle hosted, where he was like, oh yeah, Bryce is, not essentially not him and blah, 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 blah. And then he kind of backtracked it a little saying like, yeah, there's a whole thing. I just think that there's, even within like a great organization like C3, there's so many competing ideals. There's so many like people wanting something else to happen and not this, but that and all that other stuff. So just in the microcosm of just a Panthers podcast, we can't even get people to agree, let alone getting an entire fan base. So I think that Frank was doomed from the start. This roster has been subpar, like I said. But yeah, it's just a bad shake overall. A lot of people will try and compare this to the Coles. We'll try to compare this to all these different places. But the one thing that he had an issue with for the Colts was quarterback play, and that's unfortunately what we're seeing right now. Bryce isn't the supercomputer that we were maybe told, or at least it's not coming out on the field right now. So everybody bears a little culpability. I just agree that if this man goes, we should fire all the coaching staff and start anew. I don't think that any one person should survive or anything like that. If you want to let one person stay as interim, that's fine, but your intention should be to fire that person, regardless of their record at the end of the year. So
you guys were putting points on the board.
No doubt. I mean, this game is right. I mean, you're exactly right. It's always about points. We know that.
See, that's the point. I understand people say, you got to go out there and win, but the scoreboard matters. Putting points on the board matters. Say whatever you want about scoreboard watching or all that other stuff, but points on the board matters. That's how you win games. You don't win games by it looking good on the field. So
that's the test for us as an offense. That's a very good defense. We knew coming in statistically in every way, shape, and form, that's a very talented defense. I thought we ran the ball and dominated up front. That showed a lot of good stuff against a very good team. We dominated at the line of scrimmage in the first half. There's just no 2 ways about it. That's what we did. That's on tape.
I love that he said that because people are like, wait, were you watching the same game? And there was some situations where the offensive line actually won. Unfortunately, the times where the defenders are literally in the backfield by the time Bryce turns around is going to be the point that people look at. There was a few wins, handful, I'll give you. But it wasn't dominant. I'm not even sure if he said dominant, but it didn't look that great regardless. I've always said that the line is bad. In fact, I'm going to address what I talked about at the beginning a little bit. People have gone after Bozeman's family on Twitter. Like, it's a little disgusting and despicable for Panthers fans to do that. If you're attacking the family, you're not a fan. You're not a fan. You shouldn't be a part of this organization, and you're just scum. So, you're not going to change my mind on that. If you're attacking athletes' families, that's absolute garbage, and I just won't tolerate it. So if it happens on my page, I'm just going to mute you. Just move on. I just don't need that just little boy energy, little girl energy, whatever. Because those are the kind of people that are keyboard warriors and would never say something to somebody's face. They're little bitches. So I'm gonna continue and let this man get his due time, and I'm gonna stop interrupting him. He deserves it.
But what we didn't do is we didn't score points. So we got to be able to convert when we're running it at 6 yards a carry, and our O-line is blocking up front on the run as well as we're blocking. Those things got to get converted into touchdowns.
That was also something you discussed, is being able to play out, run first and set up play action. You guys only completed 5 to 10 passes in the first half. So with that domination in the trenches, where do you think it went wrong from a passing standpoint?
we had problems protecting. I mean, we had problems protecting in the first half, really the whole game. So they're very talented pass rushers. We knew that going in. That I mean, obviously, Micah Parsons is a special player, but he's not the only good pass rusher they have. So we knew they were loaded up front. We knew it was going to be a challenge. We thought the formula was run the football. Run the football. Sustain drives, shorten the game like that, be able to throw some play action, take a few shots here and there. But we just weren't able to, when we stalled running it, on a few key third downs, and then in the red zone, we weren't able to make the plays in the pass game that we needed.
And that comes into more than just play calling, drop passes, missed routes, the whole nine, or just great defensive plays. I thought that this game was close for a while, and then all of a sudden it got blown open, which is what I expected, to be honest. I posted my my little snippet from First Things First, where Kevin Wilde was explaining how the defense was so different between weeks 1 to 6 as opposed to the last 3 and now 4. The defense has either shown up or not shown up, and this is where the games where the defense for the beginning part, as well as our offense, was kind of all going, and then it all just came apart. If that's because players are giving up, those players need to be cut, period. The people that are not giving up are Bryce Young. People that are not giving up are Frankie Louvu. The people that are not giving up are Brian Burns. So those 3 in my mind are completely untouchable. Everybody else on that team, if you want to trade them, do what you need to do.
Pick 6.
I got to go back and look at the tape, but guy makes a great play. I mean, it seemed like the ball, we got flushed in the pocket, so it wasn't the release pattern with the 2 receivers there was a little bit of a miscue, not by them, but a defender kind of got in the way and kind of blew it up a little bit. So, Mingo's coming over and, coming upfield a little bit. The guy just undercuts him and makes a good play.
A lot of people said Mingo was very passive in this game. It didn't seem very aggressive or very motivated to really make his routes as crisp as they could be. So I'm not going to lay this on the blame of Bryce Young. I think this game was a failure of the offensive line, of the wide receiver group and everything like that. I think it was just overall a lot of bad penalties too. There was one where I believe Woods horse collared and did a face mask on somebody as he was going out of bounds. Like, come on. There's a lot of things. I think it's frustration. I think it's so many things. And once it got to a certain point, the Panthers were ready to just roll over. And the offensive line really was the biggest glaring issue of this game.
You mentioned the protection. That's been a recurring theme this season. Did this organization misjudge just the effectiveness of this O-line?
No.
Yes, the answer is yes. But he can't say that because we're past the trade deadline and he can't make any moves. So his answer is no, but
I think that from a pass protection standpoint, we just have to keep working. This particular defense is as good of a pass rush team as there is in the NFL. I mean, that's just what.
And that's the thing. It's not all the Panthers' fault. It's not all coaching fault or anything, or even all personnel fault, which is where I lay the majority of the blame once we get past Scott Fitter and the front office. Cowboys were just good, and that's okay. Oops, sorry.
They are. So I give them credit. I thought we would protect better. I thought we had a good protection plan, to try to double Parsons when we could. There's going to be some 5-man protection stuff that gets, where the throw gets out quick. So we had a variety of things in the protection scheme up, but we just weren't able to execute.
90 yards and penalties, a couple of those occurred on crucial third down. What happened? Was that just...
It was brutal. I mean, it was brutal. We got a chance at the end of the first half. I mean, our defense has been playing great, so, I can't say too much about that. But, we get the score, then we kick, we get a penalty on the kickoff. We kick it out of bounds, so they're starting at the 40, and then we got 2 third and longs, and we extend drives. That turns that 3 points into 7, so we're giving them 4 points there, but then we're also not only giving them 4 points, we're losing an opportunity to have a 2-minute drive. So who knows what we do on the.
Exactly. I think it's more than just one problem. That's why I think firing the head coach is not the best solution. like I've long said, my opinion was that we fire Scott Fitterer, fire the front office basically as soon as we can start interviewing GMs. So Fitterer would get a few more weeks or a month and a half or whatever. Then we would go from there, hire the best GM possible, obviously discuss what coaches he likes, but tell him Frank Reich is going to be your coach for now. And if 6-7 games into next year, we have 2-3 wins after a full offseason, a full draft, a full everything with Reich in the building from the get-go, with a new GM, which is the big caveat. I understand Frank Reich came in before, but Scott Fitterer is a bad evaluator of talent. So I've always thought that they'll be bringing a new GM, let him decide what's going on. If the next year starts bad, he goes in, and next year that GM gets full reign. Hire your coach, coaching staff, personnel, couldn't care less, and give that person the opportunity. Now, obviously, that's a big swing. We need to make sure it's the right person. People that I would always look for are GMs from like the Niners or the Ravens, the Steelers, anybody like that, a long tenured organization where those people have been there a long time, are proven good evaluators of talent. I don't want us to go out there and get a college coach. I don't want us to promote an offensive coordinator. I don't want us to be a retread like a Bill O'Brien. I would want us to go out there and get proven talent, proven worth, proven all of that. I understand that's what Frank came in, but the fan base so quickly turned against him that I don't think there's any way to salvage his future here, barring him getting the opportunity next year and us going like 5-1. So that's just my opinion. Let's just see what happens.
2-minute drive. That was a bad sequence. That was a really bad sequence.
Right.
With Bryce
the long
being
touchdown drive, Frank. I'm
Sorry about that.
sorry. The long touchdown drive. You convert 3 4th downs, and what was working on that, and how frustrating is it that you can't kind of sustain?
I think we stayed in phase. Mixed the run and pass. Bryce was sharp.
See this? This is the body language I keep telling you all about. Go back, like I said, and look at Thomas Brown, look at Evero. If you can find the Brandon Staley one, which I'll probably do a reaction of his because my buddy is a diehard Chargers fan. But you need to be composed, you need to be all that, but you can kind of see he's super tense. He's processing it. You can see the delay sometimes in his answers. And then you can also see this one where he immediately jumps right into it. Meaning he already had his answer ready to go. He already knew. He got frustrated by getting the two reporters kind of overlapping. These are those mannerisms that people need to continue to look out for. Body language gives away a lot.
I really have a lot of confidence and trust in Bryce when we get in those 4th down situations to make good decisions and put the ball where he needs to put it. So that's really a credit to him. And it was good execution. It was a long, sustained drive.
Frank, understand it. That's a good defense, but only 187 yards of total offense. How did you feel about what plays you called today, and what does that say about this offense in general, that you just guys can't score?
We got to be better.
But again, target share. I'm not going to pull it up now. It's not worth it. I'm not going to delay this video, make this video 45 minutes or anything. I'm already at like 20 plus minutes and I'm halfway through this thing. So we're just going to keep on trucking along. People need to look at the target share, the amount of drops, the situations we were in, the situations we allowed the Cowboys in. It's more than just a single play calling is the issue answer.
Got to coach better, got to play better. So that starts with me, as the head coach, as a play caller, got to be better.
Frank, is there an element to complementary football you feel is missing with this team when you talk about, obviously you can't cook that up, it's not something that happens overnight, you got to grow that, but you see this team obviously throughout the season have good moments offensively like Bryce's drive, and then defensively I know they're not happy with what happened on the next drive. How much do you talk about that during the week, and how would you assess that right now?
No, I mean, I often talk about, that a football game is like a boxing match, like an old school boxing match, and you got to be able to, in a fight, connect in a lot of different ways, jab and move. You got to be able to have combinations that can knock a team out. And so, to me, that's exactly what you're talking about.
And I agree with that. I've always liked the Frank offense. I've never had the opportunity as a Panthers fan to have Reich as the coach, so obviously I had a lot of faith in him coming here.
I like the big, or his desire to have a big, strong, tall, fast quarterback. I think there's going to be a big narrative change moving forward, especially if we end up snagging out a few more wins, where people are finally going to say, okay, well, all of that stuff about him wanting Stroud was actually true. The things that obviously I brought up previously and a lot of other people also brought up. History does repeat itself, and he wanted Stroud. I love Bryce Young. Don't get me wrong. I was totally happy with us getting Bryce Young. Uber accurate Alabama quarterback. We're finally going to help Alabama get that true number one quarterback. But I think that we overjudged the offensive line. I think that we underjudged the defense and kind of thought that, Burns is just going to, do the same thing he's going to do. Obviously, there's a lot of injuries on the defensive side. The scheme's been tough. We've been put into weird situations, especially on the defensive side. But that's not an excuse at this point. We need to see something on the field, and I just think that the narrative is going to slowly start changing now that essentially so far, I don't know, obviously if he's been fired in the middle of me recording this video, I'm going to have to edit this part out. But actually, no, I'm going to leave it in regardless. If he ends up getting fired, then there's, again, what I expect because the fan base is so against him. But if he ends up turning this around, it's going to be a huge narrative switch on Bryce. And I don't agree that that's the narrative switch we should be doing. We should be focusing on the future and how we're going to improve this team, mainly the offensive line, which is the thing that I have always said is the thing that as a GM should be your first priority. I would rather pay, 5-6 guys, obviously I have an alternate for that offensive line and just go out there and y'all can't get past those dudes. I don't really care if you said Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, TJ Watt, and Nick Bosa. Those 5 motherfuckers are going to stop them. So that's always been my thing. I love the ground and pound. I love the play action. I love the philosophy of how the Reich offense is supposed to be. But unfortunately, the personnel we have cannot sustain that. And I understand you're supposed to build your scheme for the long term, but that's not what this is. This was supposed to be a long-term rebuild. That's why I thought Frank Reich would end up getting multiple years because he's building something long-term, completely switching the defensive scheme, offensive scheme, the whole nine, which requires time. You can't do it in one season. Nobody thought that Deion Sanders was going to win 10 games and win a natty in his first season. The one thing you can't fix immediately is an offensive and defensive line, which are two of the biggest problems we have. Now, we also brought in a bunch of subpar receivers as well. So, again, a lot of decisions have led up to this point. This man has been here 9 months. Scott Fitter has been here since 2019. The front office has been here since 2019. The owner has been here since at least 2019. So those are the people that we need to lay the blame at, not the new coach. Because I'm not going to blame Thomas Brown for the offense. It's not his fault that the personnel is the way it is. So I can't hold Frank to that same standard that I'm not going to hold the offensive coordinator to. If anything, Evero has been here 2 years. That would be a little bit more cause for concern.
Combinations are all 3 phases working together. Bam, bam, bam. Good drive, then a 3 and out or a turnover, then a good play on special teams. We've had good moments. Obviously, we've had a lot of good moments on defense. We've had flashes on offense, and we've been really good on. I think we've been pretty good on special teams, besides too many penalties. But we just need to put it all together as a team.
And I'm sorry, I did misspeak. I could have swore Evero's been here longer, but he hasn't. He got here in 2023, a year before he was with the Broncos. And obviously, I go back and forth for Colorado to Florida. Just in case people don't know, my wife's currently going through a lot of health issues and stuff like that. So I always want to get her the best medical care. That's why we go back and forth. So
more often.
Frank, understanding that this is your first year here, but it's a 6 straight losing seasons now, and you saw the crowd and how many Cowboy fans and Panthers fans gave up their tickets. I know you wanted to turn things around here right away, but how frustrating is this to not be able to do that right now?
No, it's very frustrating.
Exactly. And I think that previous interview with the owner or about the owner meetings every week and stuff like that, I think that's another frustrating thing. That's something that Frank hasn't really dealt with. Irsay was involved, but Irsay also had a lot of pieces already there, ready to go. Obviously, Reich got like the last year or two of luck where the Colts really just didn't protect him. Even though they did have some pretty decent offensive linemen, they just couldn't protect him. We're kind of seeing that again. Since Frank's new, again, I'm giving him a little bit more slack. He's only been here 9-10 months. This is a GM front office owner problem in my eyes.
When you work hard and you believe in the guys you're doing it with, and I believe in our coaches and players, not getting the results you want is frustrating. And so I'm frustrated most of all for them, but I'm certainly frustrated for the fans as well. I've been in this game a long time. I've had a great appreciation for fan bases wherever I've been and what that means to a team and what that means.
See, that's the point that I keep echoing. Again, it's going to be a really quick point. We're going to move on. The fan base is part of the problem. Panthers fans are part of the problem. The scrutiny that's being placed on others while allowing others to skirt culpability or liability is a bit insane to me. And until the fan base decides to change, I don't think the team is going to change. That's kind of what the Hornets went through for a long time, and now they're finally starting to turn around, and the fan base is coming with it. But until that fan base is ready to allow that team to succeed and really help it without tearing it down every 5 seconds, I don't think that the Panthers get better.
To a city. So I understand the level of frustration, by the fans. And, we had the change here that we had, and, you start to set things in place to make a change. And you want it to happen overnight. Sometimes it takes longer than you want. But you have to keep your head down, be strong with.
Oh, this is him. I'm going to go back real quick, just a few seconds. This is this man talking about himself, how he's been handling the scrutiny. He's not telling you this, but watch. If you were to use all this man's words, what he's about to say about all of that, you're going to hear it. And I'm going to pause it to make sure that you are aware. His mannerisms, his body language, his everything is telling you how he's feeling.
To make a change. And you want it to happen overnight.
I want it to happen overnight.
Sometimes it takes longer than you want. But you have to keep your head down.
Exactly. You have to keep your head down. You don't scream on the sidelines. You don't come in there and throw blame on anybody else. You say, I'm the head coach. It's my fault. That's how you grow.
Keep the vision clear and come to work every day. And you've got to be able to fight your way through the tough times.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. I keep telling y'all, these are the hard times. This is what he was brought in for. I still believe he was there to protect Thomas Brown by taking the play calling back. I believe that most of what this man says is just projection, meaning he's like, oh, we need to do this. I need to do this, that. But if he says me, it's my fault, it's this, and this, then people will be like, oh, he's being selfish and this, like that. And people could say that that's not how it is, but that's true. I can go find it on Twitter. I can go find where people are like, oh, he's saying me? Oh, and then turning it into something else that it's not. The fan base is part of the problem. That man is going up on there and accepting the blame, taking it on the chin, and being a good head coach. And you guys just won't let him live.
With the protection issues and some of the penalties and even some of the playmaker stuff and play calling changing, how hard has it been to get an eval on Bryce through these 10 games, just in general, just from a quarterback standpoint?
I obviously watch him closely, and I'm very encouraged and optimistic about a lot of things and who he is and the player he is, and he can make every throw, how he processes it, how he's handling a difficult season so far. I really respect the way he's handling it himself and, fighting through it. So, physically, I see him, every day, working hard, getting better, understanding what we're doing, why we're doing it, being engaged in the process, him being engaged in the process more and more. He's great to work with. I love sitting in those meetings with him. We as a group, trying to figure out ways to get better, make this offense better.
So what you said you respect how he's handling it, but with him being a young quarterback, do you have any concerns about whether the losing will get to him mentally and even the hits that he takes?
I don't, because of who he is as a person. I just think that's one thing that was clear in the draft process, that his mental toughness and character, to me, is unquestioned. It's unquestioned. Not that nobody's perfect, right? We all have weaknesses. We all struggle at times mentally. All of us do, right? Even the most confident guys, the best players in the world, everybody does. And I'm sure Bryce has his struggles, but I also believe that he's got an inner strength that has helped him get to where he's gotten to. Even though we all know he's won a lot of games in high school and college, I think he's made to handle stuff like this. and I don't think he'll accept it. And I think he'll continue to elevate his game and elevate this team. And it might just take, it's taken longer than we all wanted it to. But I can tell you, it's not on his shoulders. We all have a part of it, right? Every person has a part of it, player and coach, and so we handle it collectively.
All right, Coach.
Last question.
Is there a concern about, not just his mental toughness, but his health overall with him being sacked this many times this season and keeping him healthy?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it's actually the contrary to that. One of the questions about Bryce coming in was, with his size and weighing under 200 pounds and being 5'10", could he take it? And I think he's answered that question week in and week out. He physically is one tough dude. Never wants to come out, can take hits. I think that's a credit to his physical toughness and his tenacity. Yeah, that's been, week in and week out. He doesn't flinch.
That was the whole press conference. Overall, I thought he gave all the answers like I've been saying. I want you to continue to look at his mannerisms. I want you guys to really listen to what this man's saying. Listen to the criticisms that he's taking and how he's handling it. Overall, I will give this a B-. This was not a good press conference, or this was a good press conference. Not a great one, good. And I think a lot of people really need to learn what good and great are. But overall, I'm just very curious. Obviously, this is last night's press conference. He did another one today, so that one should be coming out here in a little bit. If you're watching this now, go check it out. That's going to be where I really address the Bozeman thing a little more. But overall, yeah, B-. I like what he's saying. I just don't think it's translating to the fan base. I don't think it's translating to the players. And I don't think that this personnel is on a level to win 8 games. I don't think even with Andy Reid as play caller, I don't think that this offense could, really contend for anything other than a top pick. So for that, I'm going to give him slack. I'm going to go see this other press conference, see what people are mad about. Might address a few others depending on what comes out today. But regardless, my name is Nick. This is Roll Coverage. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day. And just check out whenever you want to Roll Coverage Pod on Twitter or this YouTube, where you most likely found this video. Got tons of breakdowns. Evero, Thomas Brown, Frank Reich, other teams, news breaking story. I try to stay on top of it all. I'm still one person for now, but I just appreciate everybody if you made it this far. Have a great rest of the night.